Opposed? Motion is carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none. Look for a motion for the adoption of the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment for the 28th day of November 2023. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Norrie. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. The first item on the agenda tonight is a land severance application. Land severance application PLCOR 2021-067 K Murray, land immediately east of 1754 County Road 12. Legal description, concession 7, part lot 4, part lot 5, Geographic, Township of Richmond. And just before we get started, is there anybody here speaking for or against this application this evening? Seeing none. Mr. Nobes, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. The application, or rather the item 5.1 and 5.2 are effectively linked together. They're two consent applications from the same parcel. So I'll speak to both kind of concurrently here. Item 5.1 seeks to sever a 3.25 hectare parcel. And item 5.2 seeks to create a 2.09 hectare parcel located immediately east of the 3 hectare parcel. Both parcels will be taken from the northwest corner of a large land holding on County Road 12. And the application has been back and forth a number of times between the applicant, their survey team, their geotechnical review team, as well as the Conservation Authority. This was brought before the previous Committee of Adjustment later in the term, but was deferred pending further on-site investigation from a karst topography perspective and wetland evaluation perspective. Those have been concluded, and now we're back in front of the committee to recommend approval, subject to the conditions as noted within the agenda package. So both items 5.1 and 5.2 contain the same recommended conditions associated with such approval. You'll note if you open the sketch, the more westerly parcel, the larger lot, there are karst-like features in the northeast corner of that parcel and wetland feature on the easterly side, about a quarter of the way down from the County Road 12 frontage end of the lot. On the easterly parcel, there is a wetland and associated setback requirement, more or less in line with that wetland on the westerly parcel. So this parcel had quite a bit of karst topography that really is, we've been able to narrow down where proposed building envelope would be located, a septic, as well as a well on both of the parcels, such that they're both outside of these karst features, outside of the wetland features, and not interfering with neighboring properties, wells, or septic systems. So given the on-site investigations that have gone on over the course of the past 18 months or so, staff are now in a position to recommend approval, subject to the conditions as noted. And I will highlight that condition number 5 is that a minor variance be submitted and successfully obtained to reduce the setback for a building to the wetland boundary to 15 meters from 30 meters. That is in alignment with the Conservation Authority's requirements. It was an unevaluated wetland, and it's being evaluated and delineated. So the Conservation Authority is allowed, through their regulations, they allow development up to 15 at a 15-meter setback. Ours is more blanket. Our zoning applies a 30-meter setback regardless of the type of wetland. But with the commentary from the Conservation Authority, staff are supportive of the application pending checking that box to get a variance to reduce that setback, given that the Conservation Authority has looked at it already and they're in alignment with it, and they're in concurrence with the recommendations from the applicant's consultants. Apart from that, the county is looking to confirm road widening. It seems like road widening has been taken. They just would like to get confirmation of that, and if it hasn't been taken, that they obtain it. And the typical conditions for the installation of a well, confirming potable water, both enough flow rate and quality of that water. So if there's any questions, I'd certainly be happy to take those.
Thanks, Michael. Is there any questions of Michael with respect to this application? Go ahead, Councillor Pennell.
Thank you, worship. Through you, Michael. I just also noticed that there's a MDS required on this as well. And I see that everything came back okay with that.
That is correct. Through your worship, that is correct. So we staff had flagged that there were livestock facilities in the area and that we requested the applicant have that review undertaken. We've reviewed it and we agree with the findings. So the creation of the two lots would be compliant with MDS requirements.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Pennell. Is there anything else? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that the committee receive for information the report regarding application PLCOR 2021-067, and further that the application to sever a lot 3.25 hectares in area from an 80-hectare rural property be granted, subject to the number of conditions that are contained within this report. Moved by Councillor Pennell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Calver. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Land severance application. And I know this one is associated to the last one, but we'll go through the process. Land severance application PLCOR 2021-068, K. Murray, land immediately east of 1754 County Road 12, legal description, concession 7, part lot 4, part lot 5, Geographic Township of Richmond. Again, is there anybody in the body of the council chambers to speak for or against this application? Seeing none, go ahead, Michael.
Thank you, worship. Again, nothing further to add. This is seeking approval for the creation of the easterly parcel, the parcel in the area of 2.09 hectares. And again, there does not appear to be karst-like features predominantly on this parcel as opposed to the westerly parcel. However, there is a wetland setback that is essentially pushing the building envelope into a certain portion of the property, whereby, again, a minor variance around that setback would be required to gain full compliance with the zoning bylaw through this consent approval. So conditioning this approval same as the former application is staff's recommendation.
Thanks, Michael. Is there any questions with respect to this application? Seeing none, we do have a staff recommendation the committee received for information the report regarding application PLCOR 2021-068, and further that the application to sever a lot 2.09 hectares in area from an 80-hectare rural property be granted, subject to the conditions that are contained within the report in front of us. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Norrie. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Next up, we have a land addition application, PLLA 2023-066, J&N Oak, land immediately south of 35 Oak Road, legal description, concession 7, part lot 21, Geographic Township of North Fredericksburgh. And once again, is there anybody here speaking for or against this application? Yes, sir. Did you wish to speak to it, or are you here to just to observe? Okay, perfect. If you do wish to speak, just give us a hand motion there, and we'll get you up and get you to identify yourself, and we'll hear you out. So, go ahead, Michael.
Thank you, worship. This application is seeking to add a portion of a larger landholding that has frontage on Oak Road, County Road 2, and Switzerville Road. Taking a small portion of that and adding it to an existing vacant parcel immediately south of 35 Oak Road. The land is zoned rural. The parcel that's would be receiving the land is fairly small today. This would help further bring the parcel towards the usual minimum size in the rural area, albeit for new lot creation. This is an existing lot, so we're just enlarging it. So it has the as of right ability for development because it is existing. So it could be developed for a single detached home in the future. I believe the intention is not to do so in the immediate future. It's predominantly for recreational use and I believe better access to property the rear of the property at 35 Oak Road. So this is really just a almost squaring up of property boundaries. The property at 35 Oak Road, its rear lot line, this would more or less bring it in line with that and effectively double the size of it to make it more developable in the future as well.
Great, thanks, Michael. Is there any questions for Michael with respect to this application? Go ahead, Councillor Pennell.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Michael, I see that it's going to be added, but does this property, is it tied to 35 Oak as well?
My understanding, it's the same ownership structure. Essentially, they're keeping them separate, but it's the same owner.
Okay, thank you. That's where I was going to go, see if it merged, but they're keeping it separate.
Yeah, I believe they're in separate names, so they should still be separate.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Pennell. Is there any other questions for Michael? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation the committee received for information, the technical report regarding lot addition application PLLA 2023-066, and further that the application to permit a lot addition of 22,000 square meters be approved, subject to the conditions that are contained within the report in front of us. Look for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Shank, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Land severance application PLCON 2023-068, 282-5353 Ontario Inc., 293-295 Church Street, legal description, part park lot 20 ES Sheffield Road, parts 3 and 4, 29R 11125, town of Greater Napanee. And once again, is there anybody here speaking for or against this application? So yes, go ahead, sir. Or did you wish to speak about it? Just to observe? Okay, great. And if you want to come up, just give me a wave there and we'll get you up here. So go ahead, Michael.
Thank you, Worship. This application seeks to effectively separate each side of a semi-detached building that's currently under construction. Typically, what you would see is the part lot control removal process, which we've done routinely in the past through the council process. Unfortunately, that's not able to be leveraged with a park lot. It can only be used on lots on a registered plan of subdivision, not a park lot. So we have a slight nuance there where the applicant needs to go through the consent process to achieve the same result, which is to essentially take the parcel as it exists today and cut it in half to be able to sell half one of the semi-detached and half two of the semi-detached. So this parcel was severed a couple of years ago, and there was a site-specific zoning applied to allow for a slightly reduced lot area and lot frontage. And the building is, under construction now, and it's it's advancing towards being finished. The surveyor has been to the property to pin the exact party wall between the two buildings, and they've got a reference plan that can describe each half of this property to be able to sell those independently. So again, with it being a park lot, it doesn't get the benefit of lifting part lot control, unfortunately. So the applicant had to go through the consent process to achieve that.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Is there any questions or comments for Michael with respect to this application? Seeing none, we have a staff recommendation that the committee receive for information the technical report regarding application PLCON 2023-068, and further that the application to divide the parcel along the center line of the semi-detached dwellings separating wall be granted, subject to the conditions that are before us in the report this evening. Moved by Councillor Shank, seconded by Councillor Norrie. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks, Michael. And we'll look for a motion for adjournment of the Committee of Adjustment. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks, folks, and we'll see you at 7 o'clock for the regular session of council.